Today, we're going to be diving in on the importance of unit mix, right? First, my name is Barsanti, CEO and founder of StorageLife. StorageLife is a community across the country. We find, fund, and operate self-storage together. We also teach you how to do it or help you scale. If you want to know more about our team, our community, check us out at storagelife.com. Cool. So unit mix. When you're developing a project, when you're converting a project, it's so important because you're having to figure out the current demand of the market in order for you to properly build the right units, expand your facility with the right units. But it's also a part of underwriting and evaluating a deal. So a couple key questions that I want to kind of sum up this conversation we're having is, what product do you have? So when you're looking at a deal and you're analyzing the upside and the revenue, what is your product? Is it all drive up? Is it drive up with paved driveways? Is it asphalt? Drive up with a mix of climate control? Is your climate control really accessible? Is it hard to get into? Does somebody have to rent a unit, but they have to walk down a 100-yard hallway? Or is your drive up accessible? Or can people rent a drive up, but unfortunately to get into the unit, they have to park and then go down a walkway because they can't drive to their unit, even though it's drive up? Do your drive up units have doors on each side of the unit so somebody could actually pull through if they're storing a boat or something? All this stuff matters, right? So what product do you have? How does your product compare to your competitor's product? And what is the current demand for your product versus your competitor's product? For example, let's say we have all climate controlled facility, but the guy next to us has a 3-story beautiful climate controlled, it's a brand new extra space or public storage. Is it apples to apples? And if it's not, where is the demand? For just drive up facility, let's say I have 10 by 30s and I'm charging $150, and Bob down the road has 10 by 30s and he's charging $150, but my 10 by 30s have a 35-foot drive aisle and Bob's don't. Accessibility in my facility is going to be so much easier than Bob's, right? So understanding your product versus your competitors, okay? Another thing too is when you're evaluating the deal is, are you going to be able to fill these units? I'm going to give you a specific example. We bought a facility in El Paso a year ago. It was a really tricky facility to evaluate because there were REITs all around it. We were buying it at 40% occupancy. We were buying at a 3% cap rate in a market, as you know, that was a very slow market. Now, one of the reasons I liked this deal a lot was the military market, and I own in a handful of military cities. But the thing about this facility is it had a bunch of vacant 5x10s. The hallway was filled with them to the point where you could tell they were there for the last 3 years and nobody had ever moved in them. We know from our past experience that military likes the smaller units a lot of the times. The 5x10s, the 5x5s, they don't have a lot of stuff. Moving in personal belongings, they want climate control, and they're going to disappear for 6 to 12 months, right? So even though this seller was having a hard time filling his climate controlled small units, it wasn't a unit size problem. In this case, it was an operations problem. And so sure enough, we took that facility in less than a year and we had 29 or something 5x10s and we filled every one of them. Now, if I'm evaluating a deal that has a bunch of 5x10s in a rural area or the Midwest or the South, where I know that market specifically wants 10x20s and 10x30s in large units, then we're going to quickly identify that that facility has a unit mix problem. You have to know that underwriting going in. What is your plan? Are you going to take the 5x10s and you're going to make bigger units? Is it cinder block or is it steel, right? Like, how are you going to make these larger units? Another example for unit mix would be parking, right? Is somebody going to park their nice RV in gravel versus paved? Are they going to pay the same amount for the gravel versus the paved? Probably not. When you're underwriting and evaluating a deal and you have gravel and they have paved and maybe your drive aisles are a little bit narrower than theirs, or it's not quite as nice as the other facility, but it's kind of close, you just got to underwrite conservatively and say, look, we might always be at some sort of discount, and that's okay. Another idea would be parking near a reservoir. This was a facility we bought in Pueblo. Now, do we want to compete with our couple neighbors that have all uncovered boat parking? In this instance, we're doing luxury parking. We're going to add 10 units. They're going to be 14 feet wide, 30 or 40 feet long with double door garages. Why? Because we found that down the street, there's only one facility that are offering this and they're full and they're getting $600 a month for those units. So for us, understanding the unit mix for the expansion, we're going to go ahead and add luxury boat, but we're also going to do cheap canopy. It's a much cheaper cost, but we're going to also be able to advertise covered parking. So another thing when you're understanding unit mix, you can be looking at a facility, and let's look at the downfall. Let's say you're looking at a facility and it has all 10 by 20s and that's it. Well, if you're in an area that has only 10 by 20s and you think you can fill them or keep them full, well, that's okay. But your competitors are always going to have a superior product because they're going to have variety, right? You're going to be the coffee shop that only serves drip coffee. You're not going to be able to serve lattes and all the other stuff people want. So you're stuck with your unit mix, especially when it's not easy to convert, when it's not just a partition wall that you can add or subtract. Now, I have some students that just bought a deal close to 60,000 square feet in Alabama, and a wholesaler just posted a deal that it's not in a very nice neighborhood, and it's all 10 by 20s. And so for a buyer in that market that doesn't own that market, it may make no sense. Not very nice of an area, needs some work, but they could get this deal. I think it was 20 something a foot, which is a great deal. Now for my students who already own close to 60,000 square feet in that market, guess what? They don't have any available 10 by 20s. They're all full. So they already know the demand for the 10 by 20s, and they don't mind if that facility is only 10 by 20 because that's what they need. They can use their main location, and then there's this small satellite location with all these 10 by 20s. They're going to be answering the phone for the most part at their nicer facility. It's just going to have more traffic, more options, more SEO. And every time somebody needs a 20, they can potentially send them a few miles down the road for the 10 by 20s and fill up. So that unit mix for them works because they had the potential of a satellite location. But as a buyer like us, where we don't own in that market, it wouldn't make any sense. Another example I want to give is when you're underwriting a market and you're looking at drive up, obviously, versus climate control, right? Your climate control units typically get more, but it depends on the market. But if the market's not paying more for them, most likely a great chance you're not going to get more for those climate controlled units. Even though you have a superior product, you don't have a superior product that anybody wants, right? More than the drive up. People want to literally pull up their pickup to the front of the unit and unload. And so just because it's superior in quality, it's not superior to everybody. In fact, a lot of people want the drive up. So we're finding markets that the drive up are getting just as much as the climate controlled. For you ground up developers, obviously this is huge. This is why you do feasibility studies, understanding the unit mix. And even if you are going to do a feasibility study, please, unless you're really working with the best, you got to do a lot of the feasibility study yourself as well. That's your due diligence of saying, hey, look, we're building in a market or expanding in a market, and it's going to cost us 40 a foot for drive up or 55 for climate, and climate's getting 150 a foot and drive up's getting 80 a foot. Well, it's a very simple mathematical equation of which units you're going to lean on. Wait lists when you're evaluating a deal, calling competitors, secret shopping. That's how you're figuring it out, what the market demand is. It's calling around, start in the 1 mile, then the 2 miles, then the 3 mile radius. And you're going to call as many facilities as you can until you get the story, till you feel comfortable going, okay, I get the market. You're just going to have all those important conversations during due diligence while you're secret shopping. And that's going to help you understand the market demand. I hope that makes sense. This is all about your revenue. This is huge. You are buying a product. You have to understand the product, not just the upside, because the upside is part of the product. Every time you buy a facility, you analyze a facility, you are paying and buying a product. How does your product stand out and stand against your competitors once you understand the competitor demand? Cool. Probably see you guys next week. Even though we're approaching the holidays, we'll try and keep knocking these out. Thanks so much. Good luck out there. Peace.